Hello and welcome everybody to our new show of today, and this time with Monika Frühwirt. I have to begin right away and say that I have connection problems and I have no idea why, and so if we just fade out, if we disappear, I'm sorry for that. Then we try to do it another time, or Monika, if she is able to do that technically, would continue with our talk today. So welcome again. I'm Heidi Hörnlein. I'm a transformational coach and a relationship counselor and also a voice coach and a voice therapist. And I help people to come into their highest potential, at least I try to. And I do that in online courses and online coaching, but also in our Paradiso Integrale here in Italy, and our website is thepowerofrelationship.com. I didn't put in the lower search today because it always kicked me out before, so I didn't want to risk it again. And yeah, the technical things, you know, we are beginning to learn that, but there are always some surprises. Yeah. As an introduction, I want to tell you that in September we'll start a new hangout show, which will be called the Wisdom Factory, where we will invite people with notable experience and knowledge and, of course, wisdom to talk about their path and what their intentions are for the future. And I think our world really needs the leadership of wise people. And this will be a forum to connect them so that we can start to collaborate. And welcome again. Today we offer you a pre-event for that, and it's called It's Gonna Take Patience and Time to Become Human. And this is an interview with Monika. You have already seen her, Monika Frühwirt. And she was already a leader in the German integral community when I joined it about 15 years ago. Thanks to Monika, the philosophy of Ken Wilber was introduced and spread in Germany and Austria by her constant effort, for instance, in translating texts and in editing a journal, a print journal. She has created an association of German-speaking nations, which is called in German the Integrales Forum. And she has organized live events and conferences for about 15 years now. And I got to know Monika better in the moment when she organized a women's group to explore the feminine ways in how we could approach the integral way, which originally was more masculine biased. So we want to bring head stuff more into everyday experience. And I see you giggling, Monika. First, hello to you, and you take over. Tell me about your way, how you entered into the integral worldview, how you got to know about it, and what was motivating you to put so much effort into it to create what you have created.
So, do I start now, or
yeah, okay.
My talk? Is this okay? So, hello Heidi, thank you for having me here. It's quite amusing, our struggle with technology, but we make it. Yeah, how do you? Well, it's a long time ago, and the first introduction I had to the Integrale vision, I brought some books, was Spectrum of Consciousness. And from when I was introduced to it, I found it rather boring. And it wasn't just what I really, after all these new age highways and byways and subtle energies and I Ching and Tarot and the whole new age spectrum. But after rereading it some years later, I found it was really a great book. Wilber was 23 years old when he wrote it. And this is quite impressive because to create a map of how your consciousness works, he put it in 4 quadrants and lines of development. was something new, and it was very easy to comprehend. And the second book, Wege zum Selbst, looked like this, a very stony road at that time. Now it has changed, it has become colorful and Eastern and Western.
You are showing the German edition. It is called
the German edition.
No Boundaries.
Yeah? No Boundaries in English, yeah. So we walked a rather stony road of shadow work and archetypical theater. I also, when still in New York, I started Kundalini yoga because I was very ambitious most of the time to, as Wilber at this time, to rise my spiritual level as much as possible. Well, as we all know now, the Wilber Combs grid reverted that, and Wilber sort of all these ambitiousness to getting higher has been confounded by him, and but I still recommend the book. It's quite a good introduction to get into it. As you mentioned it, the Integrale Forum was rather male-oriented, intellectual, which was quite interesting and a challenge. And after Eros, Cosmos, Logos, and reading all the 200 pages of footnotes, I was really hooked on Wilber. Every morning with a caffeine high, I read it, and it really broadened my horizon quite amazingly.
Yeah. I want to say that you obviously are very intellectual oriented too, because I actually, Eros, Cosmos, Logos is a book like this, you know. I couldn't go through. You say it's easy to understand. I mean,
I didn't say that.
To other philosophers, it is relatively easy, but you know, I at the end preferred the more, how can you say, worldly written books, you know, like where he translated his theories into a more normal language, where I could understand a little bit more about that.
Like most people in the Integrale Forum, I'm a book person. I love books, I love to read books, and I also love to write. So this was natural. This was an affinity, and I guess most people who come to the integral scene feel comfortable with books. And of course, after some time, I noticed that something was missing. It was particularly after one conference we had that the female line of development, and Wilber differentiates between male and female lines, Enneagram types, how you develop through the different levels of consciousness. So I found that something was missing, and so I created the female WIB, which was called the Female Field of Consciousness. And was glad that women really flocked to it at the next conference. They loved the way we presented it, and also to find a different approach, that it's not just dominated by intellectualism, but also by what you are, what you feel, not shying away from emotions, and all the other male approaches, like well, we all women have gone through a conditioning by male structures, and this is something we have to accept and to acknowledge. And
I think we really learned a lot by being allowed to learn and to study in universities, seeing it historically, because still I don't remember the name, but it was a German mathematician, and she was a physicist. She couldn't study officially physics, but her father was physics. And she could do in some way get an exam, or so she was not allowed to be in university. And this was only in the beginning of the last century. So it is not a long time that we are allowed to study. And it is clear that we enter into it. And we thought that males are in some way better off. And when we do everything what they do, we will be, you know, finally what we want to be. And so we went into the intellectual line, many of us, and it is not bad, not at all. I mean, I did it too, and I was attracted to Ken Wilber and the intellectual stuff quite a lot. But as you, I felt that it is not all. You know, when you only are spinning around thoughts in your head, I mean, it doesn't change ourselves and doesn't change the world, really, only the thoughts.
One of my favorite quotes of Wilber is, "It's not bad to have a brain." And
not bad to have a brain, no. But how you use it, you know.
Right, right. And I appreciate, although some people just look down or say it's arrogant, but it's not arrogant. It's just my nature, that I like to know what I think and how I think and what others think. And yeah,
it's nothing bad about it, you know.
Right,
but
right.
As you mentioned, you created this women's group where I not knew you better, and we gathered for 5 days, I think. We were
I still remember that first week we had together. We went through all the male rituals of competition, of domination, of it was amazing. And I remember that one moment when I said, well, please, one evening, everybody hold this tension and let's see what comes out of it. And amazingly, it worked. I don't know why it worked, but we went on, but it was quite an experience that women are just copycats of male habits. And this was, and to find another approach, to find a different approach, which we may find in other men. Some men are very female in their way, but it's not really attractive to women, to many women, because it's much more attractive to have power, to influence, to manage things. And that's not bad either. But you have to know from what angle of your life you are acting. Not only from what quadrant, but also where you just navigate on this map of your being.
So what is your insight now that you have done a long journey through the male paradigm?
One other thing. I have been married for 50 years now to the same man, which makes me really a fossil. It's something back from the last century, but it was quite interesting to notice how both of us developed at different speeds, but we both kept in contact. And so communication, dialogue, is still one of the most important facts in life for me. And this is why I appreciate so much that you offer us this chance, just an informal hangout, not a lecture or anything, just communicating. And yesterday when I watched Raquel and Paula, I felt that my heart opened and I started to sing almost. It was so just to see how women can communicate and open up and show their feelings and their heart and not be ashamed of it. So this was really something.
I know people inside of the Google community, they say Google Plus, it's not a social media but a human media. And I think it's very nice how you said this, opening the heart. And when we are able to communicate in this way, for me it's quite a feminine way of being together, you know, talking together and not just doing a lecture in front of somebody. You know? But being able to talk, we together, and the watchers are there and can write comments, which I must apologize today. I cannot put in
Lucky
when I
me.
tried to install this before, it kicked me
Relax.
out all the time.
Heidi,
So
relax.
I leave my hand away from this technique today. This normally works, but I don't know what it is today. So
what I find.
We will come back to the comments afterwards and answer to you. Okay.
What I find interesting for me is that by talking to you or to others on Skype also, something inspires me. I really get new ideas. They turn up unexpectedly. And for example, one of the ideas yesterday that came was, how do women approach an edge differently from men? You're always required to get across an edge to grow or to transcend and include, as Wilber says. But do women do it differently from men? I never thought about that. So this is something I probably will continue to contemplate. It's I know that I always felt to be brave myself, but this is very male, to be brave, to just go into and no matter what happens. But the female way is more comprehensive in my. So you don't. It's not just will go there, but it's. I feel more centered when I do it the female way. It's the gut reaction and so on.
We have more, how could I say, I want to bring it a little bit, the notion which I learned when I did the Feminine Power course. The feminine way is not just having a goal and running there, but doing the first step. And then seeing, oh yeah, I want to go there, but what do I need? And look around, what do I need for that I can go there? And so they are always in a feedback loop with the surrounding. And they are not just bang, the head is commanding what to do. And even if we feel that it's not the right thing, we still do it as when we are masculine oriented. But feminine oriented, it would be a different way. And I felt that in my past too, whenever I was on the masculine way, the result didn't come as it should come, But you know what I still want to say to you, noticed you said before that talking with each other is inspiring and it's co-creating new thoughts. And that was exactly what happened to me. Since 2.5 years now, I have Mark, he's sitting nearby watching.
Hi, Mark.
Hello.
Do you want to come in?
Hello, Monika. Well, I'll say hello.
Oh, hello, handsome man.
Well, I think I'll come in again with such a reception. Well, Monika, I just say that I have been hearing about you for a couple of years now, and it's just a real treat to meet you. Your reputation in this household has preceded you, and it's wonderful to have you here today, and I wouldn't miss it for the world. Thank you.
Thank you. Very kind of you. But you know what you have with Heidi. She is really one of the greatest creatives I know.
Oh,
unafraid.
This is being recorded, isn't it? Yeah, okay. Very good.
So I might forget it otherwise.
For all eternity.
Yeah. So at the beginning of all this, a little bit embarrassing compliments was that since I am together with him and I got to know him by answering on integral contents in Facebook. And so we span the thoughts together, and then we became interested in ourselves. And since we are together, we often had these wonderful talks. And I thought, oh, we need to write it down, and then we forget it. And that was why in last year we began to do a radio show. For why can't we tell other people these talks we are having and their creations, there together come out ideas which never would have come out by myself or by himself. And then we did the radio show, and then we discovered Google Hangouts, and I thought, oh, this is so much better. The radio show went on until 2 weeks ago, and now I just stopped it because I want to do this medium. I can see you. You know, this is so different, and people can see us directly. They can have an idea who we are. You know, we are not hidden in only voice, and you know, we don't have our concepts here while we speak. We just, you know,
books.
Yeah, and people can see if we know the things which we are talking about, or if we just read them, and somebody else could have.
But this is exactly what you can also discover when you look at the quadrant map of Wilber. Because when I created the magazine, there was a new step in the web. So I could correct and see the layout. And now this is a next step for me. That there is in the lower right quadrant, you have a new technology. And it spreads in all the other quadrants. So you wouldn't be that nervous if you had to challenge Google or your computer. And this is, of course, your insight. And our we space develops the same way. And upper right, well, you know.
The technology allows us so much more. I mean, I would like you to tell us a little more about the magazine, what you did, and what was the reason and the direction. But to say about the technology, really gives us the possibility to always connect better, because even if you write and have this wonderful magazine, but you don't know if anybody reads it, and when they read it, whoever would write a comment, you know? Yeah. And here we are really in the Google Plus community. We are encouraged to comment and to really go together and co-create the event. I mean, then we get to know each other, and we can invite people where we see they have a contribution to do to our topics, and that's how it happens. You know, that's so amazing. Anyway.
I enjoyed that very much yesterday with Paula and Raquel, just because what they talked about inspired me again. So it's writing comments is sort of co-creative again. So it's well, the magazine. When I came to, actually when we started, that it was called Arbeitskreis Ken Wilber at that time. It was just very informal, no structures, no lower right structures. Michael Habecker invited me to translate because he had done all the translation to this moment, and and it was the first time in decades that I was really interested in translating something new, creating new words, and that was quite a joy doing it. And of course, if you give somebody the little finger, they grab your whole hand. So I ended up in the core of the Integrale, of the Arbeitskreis, the people that most engaged in promoting integral ideas. And we had, just for the community, we had a small printed, not even printed, no, it was just a leaflet. And and then there were some internal fights among the men, of course, not among the women. And
how many women were there at that time?
Yeah.
How many women? How many women were there when you were at the beginning?
Well, there was always Hilde Beckmann. She is the rock in the lower right also. She got the Integrale Forum on its way. So she really is. And of course there was at that time Susanne Mantz. But it was so unexpected that these fights erupted about positions that we really couldn't handle it at that time. The women were just sitting there and saying, what's going on? And then a couple of weeks later, they were thinking, well, who should write now the magazine? And I said, I will. And the man looked at me and said, you? I said, yes, I will. And that was an edge for me because, yeah, and I crossed it. And we had this magician of a webmaster, Uwe Schramm, in Berlin. And he really is a magician in what he does, not just graphics, but in the technology of everything. And both of us were really thrilled by the idea of promoting an integral vision. And it was rather easy working with Berlin and with Frankfurt. Sonja Student was also active then. And I sort of tried to get people together to contribute. And it was amazing because I was 60, over 60 then. And all of a sudden I sat until 2 o'clock at night and was just typing and typing, and I was so thrilled. And it was just a creative period I thoroughly enjoyed. And after some time I also got Michael Habiger back to contribute, and he's now running the show, as you know. And that was very lucky because after the operations I had of the aneurysmas, I was very distant to everything. And now you won't believe it, because of your dialogues, I suddenly feel alive again and interested. And I even read a passage in the Integrale Perspektiven that was rather highbrow, and I thought, well, they are still at it. Is it just words, or do they live it? And this is something we still have to sort out. It's how much do you live what you ideally write in print. What I would like to return to, and it's the women's approach, is that, and here's another book, also in German, Integral Life Praxis. It is written by 4 men. It's excellent, and there is a part of you that is not gender specific. There is a part in everybody where we can, particularly on the spiritual level, where we really can follow and create ourselves. But on the bodily level, for example, the exercises, they are not geared to women's muscles. Women are different. And the pharmaceutical industry finally found out that we react differently in the body. So doing another edition of this book and having one female author doing the body exercises would be quite a good idea, in my opinion. Which is not wisdom, but it's just...
Oh yeah, it is wisdom and experience. And I think it's not only the body which is different, which has the circles much more evidently than male bodies have. I think you said spirituality, it's good for both. I'm not really even sure in that, because we have listened only a week ago, I think. It was Bruce Lipton. Mark, was it Bruce Lipton about the oh no, it was another guy about the brain differences in men and women. Yeah. So that men. This was this guy with a nothing box. Yeah, that he says that the guys have boxes in their brains. In one box, when it is engaged, the other box doesn't say anything. So they give from one box to the other. While women have wires, they always are connected everywhere. So the men most favorable box, which they like most, is the nothing box, where they just nothing, just even when they watch television, but they are not really there. They are just in nothing. So that came to my mind. All this Zen approach, for instance, this is a masculine way. And we now try to adapt it to be quiet like these two and go into the nothing box. But when the brain discoveries say that we don't have nothing boxes, but we are more in connection, this is just an hypothesis I have. So I would think that maybe for women would be more adapted spirituality like in movement, you know, and not in sitting and sitting. So it is to think about, and maybe we can create some episode around that. And invite
what
people.
comes to my mind now is that I once had a vision of male being, and it was this cross Wilber has in his quadrants, and the female way is like a continuous flowing from a center in rainbow colors at that time. I saw it. Yeah, it's a source with no end, and it, of course, it's not pinpointed to a certain aim or goal, but together it's fantastic if you get these both approaches together in yourself and in everybody else, or if you have a partner, that's of course terrific. That's great, and that's one of the visions I have of how humans will develop. Because, as I said, it's when you look at the different levels, the spirals, and I didn't ask Paula yesterday, but I was wondering if the circles she forms could turn to spirals. And this may be the way for the females to have their circle move in spirals up the levels. It's just a thought that came yesterday, and I didn't have the thought before, so I'm very grateful for that too.
I think it's a very good thought, and I think what we are doing, what I plan to do alone, and I'm happy of everybody who will collaborate and co-create with me, is really that, to get the connection, because the bias of male ways or masculine ways is still too big, and it's not about going over only in feminine ways. This is no, but we know them better, sort of organically, the feminine ways, and explore them better, and be a sort of a authority in how feminine ways work, and then contribute and get the integration with the masculine way in ourselves, logically, first. I think it's really first thing that we have to do that in ourselves, and then in the institutions and the communities, wherever, you know. And that's exactly what is inspiring me to. I'm 60. How old am I?
61.
61 now, yeah. And you know, I never thought about that. I was in public as a singer.
It takes patience.
It takes time.
It takes time. Yeah.
Patience to become and know what you really, really need to do, or what your mission is. And for me, in some way, it always came through. You know, my voice work was about consciousness. You know, the relationship work we are doing, and this is about consciousness, about yourself, and you know, it is also spiritual. But the spiritual moment, I don't want to give too much accent to it, because I fear always that we are going in spirituality and blow away. I want first come to the real life and create ourselves as humans more integral, more complete, and then, you know, go up with higher ideas and so on. This is my idea.
Would you agree that this is spiritual, what we are right now doing?
Absolutely, but I wouldn't call it so. You know?
No. But the minute you can feel the spirit in the other person, what else is there? So
this is a wonderful definition of spiritual, you know. But it is so abused today. It's,
No. What I found out, even if I looked at the 3 papers, the Info 3, Evolve, and our Integral Perspektiven, the we space is now very prominent as a topic. Community dialogue. So this is really, we are on a feminine way, a female way, if you want that. And it's the soft skills that are finally coming to the surface as rather convenient and not just. Of course, we are in a very privileged position in Europe, and yeah. So I don't have any global aspirations, let's put it like this, because it's enough to have my 3 grandchildren and see how they are sometimes confused with what is going on, and trying to tell them, well, this is what I am, and they really appreciate it. It's just it's much easier to be a grandmother than to be a mother. Let's put it like this.
This is nice out of your personal experience.
Yeah. And I wouldn't miss it in the world. So it's really a grace almost in my age. And I am over 70, so.
So I would call that you have reached the space of wisdom for life experience.
Yeah. Pouring wisdom from every pore. Look at me, please.
No, we can. I mean, there are even young people who have wisdom. I think wisdom in itself is a concept which is in some way, I wouldn't say feminine, but it is an integration between feminine and masculine, because it is not, wisdom is not knowledge. Knowledge I would call more masculine, knowing things. It is also knowing things, but knowing from a different source, in a different way. It is sensing, and it is an immediate knowing. It is not because you have learned this and this and this and this, and now I come to the conclusion. It's also, this is a part of it, but it's not only that. So I would say this is a combination of traditional knowledge, which you can learn, and a deeper knowing. A deeper knowing, which you call it intuition, yeah, maybe, but I would call it, it is a knowing which you couldn't explain it, this knowing. It's just, and this for me is a feminine quality, this way of knowing. And this together for me is wisdom. I don't know, how would you describe that?
Wisdom?
Mm-hmm.
I never thought about it. Either you have it or you don't.
I for sure think I'm much wiser now with 60
I don't want to be pushed into that wisdom corner, because I'm very inquisitive now, and I'm still amazed how much I don't know and how much I will never know, and still feel quite all right.
So you think wisdom is a final position which is not evolving anymore? So
no, I think wisdom is just like, actually, if you ask me, would you prefer wisdom or humor, I would prefer humor.
Wonderful.
Okay.
Wisdom is a good thing, but I don't have the habit of sitting at the feet of wise men or women, which may be because I was born during the last 3 years of the war, and I knew that the grown-ups couldn't help me at all, because they were just afraid as I was. So I don't have this guru gene in me, and I'm always a little suspicious of people feeling wise. It's
it depends on what you understand about wisdom. If it's something up there in the sky, if it is a normal, practical thing of human existence, which can develop or cannot. In some way, it develops with everybody, in certain degrees.
I would say,
I would say it's also a development.
Experience, and putting the experience into a perspective.
Exactly, that's what I think.
Yeah.
Good.
And Wilber's map, just to return to my favorite subject, Wilber's map helps you sort out where you are, where you've been, and where you might be going, because he does very good meditations, and also at the conferences when I interviewed him. He was so generous, and he gave us a meditation that everybody just sat, and you could feel how consciousness widened. And yeah, that's beautiful. These are some of the experiences I'm very glad I could make.
Yeah, for me it was too when I got to know the Wilber books, and I finally could understand, which before was ununderstandable in my life. You know, I thought, how can that be that this is, and then is this, and then is this, and it seemed all to contradict each other, you know. And then I understood, that's why. And also that what you say, where we go, there is a map which is quite clear where we are going, and also what you as an individual can do to go more easily in the direction which we are heading to. So it is such a big help. So thank you for having it met, and having met you, the German group, which was for me a survival institution, because I felt completely alone and almost a little bit mad of having thoughts which nobody understood. You know?
I remember it when we met at this, and I was very impressed with your voice training and how you really can give to people a new experience. That was also very, so you're really an expert in your field, and I'm very glad I met you.
Thank you.
Okay, Heidi, and we'll talk again, I hope.
I'm looking forward to the series. We will have one more talk about the upper right quadrant with Raquel, if you want to join us there. It is
I will be on vacation then, so I probably won't be able to.
Then we will open up in September and do a whole regular series about this. And I plan mostly in English, but also a little bit in German.
Good.
Some talks in German. This is always our language, and I think we shouldn't neglect it.
Well, having lived in the States for 10 years, it's sort of, it comes more natural to me. I even dreamt in English at that time. But of course, a language is just a way of expressing yourself. But it's not, for example, small talk is much easier for me in English. I can't do small talk in German. So, and this is something that was quite amazing, and but it is, that's the fact. But this is not small talk, I'm trying to get deeper.
Anyway, I'm in the Babylon area because living in Italy, I knew quite well Italian, and I still know it quite well. But then living with Mark and talking all the time English, I get completely mixed up, and I really need sometimes to talk in German because otherwise I forget it. Okay, Monika, I really thank you very much. And if people want to connect with you, you have it on the lower third. Can you? I will read it. Let me see. www.integraleslebenwien.at. This is Austria, yeah. And you can reach me and thepowerofrelationship.com. So we are looking forward to meet you another time, and thank you for watching. Bye-bye.
And congratulations for managing technology.
The technology gods were very good to us not to interfere during this 45 minutes. Thank you also to the technology gods. Bye-bye.